Hello, Tijans, and welcome to another exciting edition of our Road Safety Chat with Traffic Desk 2, commonly known as TD2. Now, remember, there's a lot of effects and factors when it comes to causes of road traffic crashes. Of course, engineering part talks about the road network, signage, and then also there is what is known as human error. Now, on today's topic, we want to discuss what is careless driving, because maybe one or two times you've been stopped for careless driving, or most accidents also do occur due to drivers that are considered to be careless drivers. So on today's episode, I want us to look at what is careless driving, how can we avoid careless driving, what are some of the examples of careless driving, or how can we best drive without endangering other road users. Remember, when you're driving, you must look out not only for your safety, but for the safety of various other road users, especially underprivileged, like children and the elderly. So today's topic, interesting, it is called careless driving. What is careless driving? Now, is there any piece of legislature that talks about careless driving? Is what we're going to dive in today, and then we digest what that piece of legislature says. So allow me, Tijans, first of all, to look at what the law says, because as Traffic Desk, we believe in quoting the law. We believe in teaching what is inside the books of law. Now, Section 154 of the Road Traffic Act number 11 of 2002 clearly gives a definition of what careless driving is. So allow me to go through it by saying that if any person drives a motor vehicle on a road without due care and attention or reasonable consideration for other persons using the road, that person commits an offense and shall be liable upon conviction, in the case of a first offender, to a fine not exceeding 750 penal units, or a second offender, 1,500 penal units. Now, careless driving is when you drive or ride your motor vehicle or your motorbike without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users. So careless driving is not just for drivers. All right, you can be a rider and a careless rider. You can be a driver and a careless driver. So the key words from what the law says is without reasonable care and consideration to other road users. So these are the two main ingredients when it comes to careless driving. When you drive without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users. Now, guys, remember, when you are driving, you are not alone on the road. There's pedestrians, there's cyclists, there's other drivers as well. So you need to be considerate to other road users. When you drive without reasonable consideration to other road users, then you're a careless driver. When you ride without reasonable consideration to other road users, then you are a careless rider. So what are some of the examples of careless driving or riding? The first one is when you misjudge the clearance distance. When you misjudge a clearance distance. Now, what is misjudging clearance distance? Now, clearance distance is the distance between your vehicle or your motorcycle and the one that is in front of you. That distance that you keep between your vehicle and the vehicle that is in front of you is what is known as clearance distance. So when you misjudge that distance, it means you are a careless driver. The dangers of misjudging the clearance is that should the vehicle in front of you stop abruptly. Remember, guys, the vehicle in front of you can stop for various reasons. It can develop a fault. There could be a traffic officer in front of that motor vehicle stopping it. There could be an ambulance, an emergency vehicle that is passing, and they want to give it a chance to pass. So a vehicle in front of you can stop for various reasons. So as a good driver, you need to keep enough distance between your vehicle and the vehicle that is in front of you, so that in case of any eventuality, you are able to stop without hitting that vehicle at the back. Because if you fail to keep this clearance distance, you are going to be charged for careless driving, meaning that you are driving without reasonable consideration to other road users. The other one is when you drive your motor vehicle, let's say you park on a pedestrian crossing. Now, remember that a pedestrian crossing is a place which is designated by law for any pedestrian to cross the road. So as a driver, if you drive and park on a pedestrian crossing, it means that you are a careless driver. You are not being considerate to pedestrians who are supposed to use that pedestrian crossing or the footpath, especially motorcycle riders. We've noticed that some motorcycle riders are actually riding on a pedestrian footpath. A pedestrian footpath is for pedestrians to walk on. It's the safest place for them to walk on. So as a rider, if you start riding on a pedestrian footpath, it means you're displacing pedestrians. You are being inconsiderate to other road users, which is known as careless driving. Because remember, guys, careless driving is when you drive or ride without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users. The other one is when you fail to give chance to a train. Now, we've seen a number of accidents in the recent past, an increase in the number of accidents due to drivers failing to give way to a locomotive. Now, the law is very clear that when you are approaching a railway crossing, you need to stop and look out, all right? You need to see, you need to use your eyes to see, you need to also hear. You need to look out and you need to hear. Is there a train coming? Okay? You don't just literally drive past a level crossing. You need to stop. You need to look out for the train. If it's clear, that's when you can cross the road. So if you don't do that, it means you are a careless driver. Now, in the rainy season, sometimes we find that there's water that is stagnant on the road. So as a driver, if you drive without reasonable care and consideration and splash pedestrians water, you can be charged for careless driving because you are not being considerate. Okay, you are driving without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users. So when you notice that there's a lot of water on the road and there's pedestrian by the roadside, please, you need to reduce your speed so that you don't splash water on those pedestrians, because doing that, it means you're driving without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users, because pedestrians also are road users and they are allowed to use the road by law. So it's important that when we are driving and there's water, we don't splash water on pedestrian. The other type of careless driving is when you fail to maintain lane discipline. Now, lane discipline means that you drive, first of all, within the confines of the lane. Secondly, it means that you drive using the correct lanes. If you're in the inner lane, an inner lane is what is known as a fast lane. I'll give an example of a 80 speed limit. If you're driving at 20, please don't use the inner lane. You use the outer lane. Why? Because the inner lane is a fast lane. So if you're driving in a fast lane at 20 and you're supposed to drive at 80, then you are being inconsiderate to other road users. You're driving without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users that could be faster, and you'll be causing congestion and holding up traffic at the back. So you can also be charged for careless driving if you fail to obey lane discipline by driving slow in a fast lane. Now, these are some of the examples of careless driving, and I hope that as Tidians today we've learned one or two things on how we can avoid to be careless drivers, all right, how we can be considerate to other road users, and how we can enhance our own safety and the safety of other road users by making sure that we are not careless when driving. So remember, the two most important ingredients when it comes to the offense of careless driving is when you drive without due care and reasonable consideration to other road users. So as we drive today, let's make sure that we drive with due care and reasonable consideration to ourselves and other road users. I'll see you again on another exciting edition of the Road Safety Chat.